Hi, hello, welcome. This is Let's Talk About Myths, baby. And I am your host, Liv, who is doing this in front of Michaela for the first time ever. And therefore, I'm going to rush through it because it's weird.
You're Gucci. You're good.
Oh, to the listeners at home, this is a fun, absurd holiday episode. I almost said Halloween, which is an incredibly great indicator of where my mind is at. This is a holiday episode. Michaela and I are recording together where, well, we are mostly just going to rant and ramble at you. And we're pretty excited about it. But it is the first time I'm recording an introduction whilst she is on the call with me. And that's because I don't want to do additional work after this. Today, we are here with what is now the second annual Battle of the Bastards. Michaela made a face. You're right. I'm not sure I did it last year. I think it was the year before.
It doesn't matter.
It is the second annual, regardless of that being not an accurate phrasing. We are here for a Battle of the Bastards because a couple years ago, I did just a silly little thing where I compared Theseus and Jason to determine who was the biggest piece of shit and or the most useless. That's Theseus and Jason I almost said respectfully. Jesus. Respectively. Also, this episode is going to have minimal editing, so we're just going to do our best in the recording, and you all just get to hear what I sound like when I am still getting used to speaking into a microphone for the first time in a few months. But today's is not about Theseus and Jason, though. No. This one was Michaela's idea. She said, Liv, you did this thing a couple years ago. Wouldn't this be fun? But what if it was Achilles versus Odysseus? And gods, was that a great idea? Not least because we both have these problematic faves who we are devoted to while simultaneously acknowledging that they are pieces of human garbage in the ancient sources for varied reasons.
They're slightly problematic. They
Just
have
a little
problems.
Yeah, they're problematic faves. Everyone's got to have one. I love Odysseus, despite the fact that he was a murderous piece of human garbage who caused more destruction than most other characters in Greek mythology combined. Yeah, and Michaela loves Achilles, even though he was a whiny little bitch sometimes.
Yep. He truly was. And I adore it, not least because of, Burrito Achilles. We get that.
Burrito Achilles?
You know Burrito Achilles.
I do know Burrito Achilles.
Yes, exactly. These are the important things.
I will try to post Burrito Achilles on the Instagram when this episode comes out. Michaela,
I will remind you.
Yeah, text me a photo so that I can pop it onto a fun little graphic of Burrito Achilles. Maybe we'll also post one of my favorite Achilles pieces of pottery, which is the one where he's like bandaging himself up and his like tiny little dick is just like in the forefront of the frame.
It's him
for
and
no good reason.
Patroclus together. He's bandaging up Patroclus,
and it's just like
just there.
It's the tiniest little penis, and it's just right there,
right in front. You know what? He wasn't shy, I guess.
And he can't even be excused to have a thinking man's penis because the man was not. He was not a thinking man. So,
by God, did he try? But it hurt his little brain.
Not everyone is cut out for intellectualism, and that's okay. He was Achilles.
He's our himbo. He's our Kronk.
Our Kronk. Oh my God, Achilles is Kronk.
He would be the one making spinach puffs.
All right. So how do we want to do this? We're just going to each defend both of them. I like the idea of us being able to talk simultaneously about why we love them and why they're pieces of garbage all in one. So yeah, would you like to begin by speaking on
Achilles?
Okay. Tell me why he is both
my favorite.
Well, yeah, but also this is the Battle of the Bastards, so we can also be like, who is the bigger bastard? So
easily Odysseus.
Well, we'll see when it comes down to me. So tell me why you think Odysseus is the biggest bastard.
I have many qualms with Odysseus. Mostly I am appalled by his ability to reason away his own faults and the things he does wrong in life. And
That's because Odysseus does nothing wrong. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. There's something about, he's gone for 20. Okay, so my whole thing is he is such a bad father that it's astounding to me.
Like, I literally will not deny that at all. But I also think that like Telemachus is such a little piece of shit that I don't really feel for him all that much.
But I think that's Odysseus' fault because he was not there.
Surely, but at the same time, it also is simultaneously entirely Telemachus' fault because his father had literally no influence on his personality.
But
which means he got there all himself. Like, yes, feeling sorry for himself because his dad was not there, but ultimately...
But here's the thing, right? So Odysseus, first of all, he's like, I'm going to get out of this war. I'm going to do so by endangering my child. First of all, I'm going to pretend to be mad and go towards him. Now, Well, they put him in front of him. This is me being mistaken. He stops for the love of the child. Fine, okay. My mistake. Okay, yeah. But then he leaves. And he could have only been gone for 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
But then he has to. He just has to. He gets out of his little mess. And as he's leaving, he just has to be like, ha-ha, 'twas I, Odysseus, who messed with. Why? He didn't need to take the credit. He didn't. And then because of that, he was gone for another 10 years. 10 years. And then he shows up. And the first time the first memory his son has of him is him, dick out, killing people. That's bad parenting. That's his father. He's like, oh boy, I'm so sad I don't have a dad. And suddenly Odysseus is there like, haha, just unclothes himself and starts a mass murder. That's wild.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I'm trying to find some rebuttals, but they're not coming to me.
Unfortunately, that is exactly what he did. And I still stand, Penelope absolutely knew it was Odysseus. Odysseus all like pretending to be some old man. And he's all like, the bed and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay. That's so funny. And in her head, she's just like, does he think he's tricking me?
Truly. She's like, does this man think I'm stupid? And the answer is
Penelope.
Probably yes. Yeah,
she's
Penelope
so
deserved better. Penelope desered better.
Justice for Penelope, but this isn't what we're here for. Why do you think Achilles? What's wrong with Achilles?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I find him annoying is not a good enough argument. Yours was so prepared. No, I mean, the thing about Achilles, I guess, he really, oh gosh, it's, he's just annoying. That's not enough.
I mean, it's accurate though, actually.
Yeah.
He is.
Right? Like, I just think I just wish I wanted him to be better. I guess I think, Achilles, to me, it's just, I'm struggling with, because I think I could, you can see this. I think that I could, if I was a capitalist or if I was a fan of war, or thought that it was in any way a valiant endeavor or something worthwhile of humanity's time, then I think I could make a great argument. Which is, I think, what I was prepared for my argument to be. But then I keep, my brain thinks about it and I'm like, well, Achilles was bad because he didn't think of the greater good of all of the Greeks at the war. And as soon as he was, bothered by the actions of Agamemnon, he just like went on a little petulant strike. And then I think, well, actually, no. That's because Achilles didn't actually see... Achilles wasn't... Compared to all the other Greeks, I think Achilles was maybe the least taken in by the Achaean propaganda, like the equivalent, because in my head now the Achaeans are just the West. Sorry, guys, but that's true. Both literally and figuratively, they are the West versus the East. But no, like, if they were actually doing something that was like worthwhile and Achilles holding them up, was causing a problem to that, then I could argue that he was a bastard. But I think what I'm doing is just agreeing with you
more
immediately
fuel.
and making the show the episode's not even going to be 12 minutes, I guess, because I'm just like, well, you're right. Achilles was better. He's annoying, and he was definitely a bit of like a petulant child a lot of the time, and he went crying to mom a lot.
Honestly, man.
I think that Thetis could have raised a stronger young man. I think that she, was so
the firstborn mom.
Yeah, I mean, very
Yes.
She's a mother of a boy.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's funny talking about it like that, because generally I do appreciate that Achilles was like, this war is stupid. Everything is stupid. I'm only here because I am forced to be, and because I'm like so good at this that you have to have me.
Mm-hmm.
But really he was like, I don't really respect what you guys are doing, so I don't give a shit. And now, do I love Achilles?
I'm actually going to now flip the switch a bit.
Awesome.
As much as I love Achilles, I'll give you a reason. I think
Great.
It's easier to think of him at his whole, like, I don't love what's happening. It's not necessarily the war.
No, it's not for the greater good. I'm not going to pretend that he's doing that because he's like a good guy. It's because he's like, this is annoying for me personally.
Yes. And he had the prophecy, basically, you die young, and everyone remembers you, or you live to old age and no one will know you.
Is that in the Iliad?
I don't remember.
I don't think it is, and I only say that because I've always been really curious, and I don't know offhand where that is, but I know it well. So anyway, I'm not questioning you. I'm just curious about it. But
he had a choice, I think. Is here I'm giving you. Here's why Achilles is the problem. He had a choice.
Well, I can tell you why Odysseus is the problem later. Don't worry.
And he did choose to go off and fight. And then when he stopped, it wasn't necessarily because he was like, oh, I don't agree with what's happening. It's that he wasn't being given his dues. Yeah. And that Agamemnon was taking his what was it? The Geras, I think it was, his war prize, which was just a woman.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And now you're getting into that, and I'm like, oh, right. If I forget all of my feels about Western propaganda and Western warmongering, and if I, don't equate Agamemnon with US and Israel, then yeah, I mean, the idea that he stopped helping all of his fellow Greeks because the woman he had rightfully enslaved, that's in air quotes, was removed from him, like was taken away. Yeah. Then yeah, I mean, like I don't think he has a great backbone. I don't think that he's particularly, beneficial to humankind in that respect.
What do I want to say in defense of him for this? I don't know. I think the thing though is that he sticks to what he knows how to do. Yeah. And I appreciate that about him, I think.
Odysseus does the same, I could say, actually.
Odysseus is Athena's little pet rat. He is Athena's
Well, Achilles is Thetis's little pet rat. So
Achilles is a nepo baby, unfortunately.
So is Odysseus, but less so.
Odysseus
it's a stretch. People say that he's
divine, a plant.
Yeah. Odysseus is a plant. I think Odysseus is this like I find him so interesting because of his mind, which is of course like his whole thing. But like he also, I find him, he's my, maybe I'll defend it in this way, which is that like he is my problematic fave, not because I think he's in any way a good guy, but because I do find it really interesting the way that he like ends up doing all of the wild shit that he does. Like, with Odysseus, like we get to actually see kind of where, quote unquote intelligence can get you. And I say I say it that way because like he is incredibly smart. He's incredibly manipulative, and he does not seem to have even a shred of like conscience involved in that. No. Like it's so self-serving, and it's so just about proving himself to be like the smartest guy in the room and the most interesting guy in the room. Like, I mean, I maintain I do still love Odysseus, but definitely in the time since, I've first started calling him my main man. Like, I have grown in my opinions on him, and I think I love him, but I think my love for him is perhaps like problematically tied with Sean Bean as Odysseus.
And you know what? I think my love of Achilles is problematically tied with Brad Pitt. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if I actually do look at like I know for you, like the Odyssey is your favorite of the whole.
Yeah, which is why I love Odysseus. It's like not because he was a good guy, but because I fucking love the Odyssey.
And I love the Iliad personally. It is my favorite.
I've never heard that from you.
Really? I love it. I think it's really an interesting.
Tell us the first line. Go.
Sing gotta sing of the rage of Achilles.
No, in Greek.
Oh my god, give me a moment. Oh my god. Manon. It's on my hands. What's wrong with me? Manon aedet thea peleada Achilleus ulumen in Hemuria. I don't know. That's where I fuck up. I get to the terrible rage, which. But yeah, no, I love the Iliad because I think it's actually very anti-war.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the Iliad's amazing for that.
Yeah, and I think it's a very interesting psychological look, but just like look at human behavior in conflict and looking at both sides, and you are given the good guys and they're not really shown to be wholesale good. And
are they ever this is everything that I find to be the most interesting about the Iliad too. So, but do you think that they're really ever suggested to be the good guy in any way, or do you think that is entirely coming from the development of the Iliad as being tied to the ancient Greece?
Mm-hmm.
Like I often think about whether there is kind of any explicit indication that we should be rooting for the Greeks in the Iliad, or whether all of that is coming from our association with it being like a Greek text.
I haven't thought too much about that, but that does ring some that makes sense in my brain where it feels like,
because I don't think there's ever any moment where we're supposed to side with the Greeks, which is what I find to be most interesting about the Iliad.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like when Achilles fights a river. That was fun.
Well, when Achilles fights a river, that's pretty badass. Did you know, and I'm going to say this, having looked it up for my novel and then just wanting to make sure I'm actually like right, so I could be wrong. But there's like, because I feel like in the Iliad, there's sort of interchangeable names for that river, right? It's Scamander, but it's also Xanthos.
Okay.
And because I think what I figured it out, or what I learned, and again, I use this for the novel, so that it kind of sits in a different point in my brain, but that Xanthos is the divine name for the river, and Scamandros is the mortal name for the river, which I think is just like a whole other level of interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I trust you.
Thank you.
But so more Iliad. I think the thing is, I don't know necessarily if you can wholesale say Greeks or the Achaeans or the good guys, the Trojans or the bad guys. Yeah. Because I think a lot of the times what we are shown is that these are two different camps, and in each camp there are good and bad people.
Yeah.
And who have good and bad motives. And I find that utterly fascinating when we're given such diversity, and it's not so black and white, and people who take it as black and white, I'm like, you've missed the whole point.
That's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Like there is no point where we are given a reason to think one is better than the other. And I think that any kind of desire to do that is coming out of either, like later things from the Western world that are getting tied to it, but also just this very specifically North American opinion on war, and this idea that like we always know best, and if the West wants to bomb the shit out of a country, they should say thank you. Syria. Yay, freedom for Syria, except are they actually free, or were they just is the West trying to fucking inflict all new things?
I'm so tired of existence.
Anyway, remember in the Iliad when the West went over and tried to colonize but ended up just fully destroying an Eastern civilization for no other reason than they felt like it.
I hate to say that, but I think you're confusing the Iliad with the Odyssey.
Or is it that it's both and everything the West has ever done since? Well, that's the thing. I mean, as soon as I said colonize, that ties closer with the Odyssey.
Oh, the Odyssey is just,
but the Iliad rings true still because, the West does love to just go and absolutely just decimate.
Yeah.
Just decimate entire cultures and countries in the Middle East and then be like, oh, we don't actually want to stay here though. Like, this is Arab land. We don't want it. We just want to kill everyone who doesn't agree with us and call everyone else. Anyone who tries to fight against us is terrorists for sure. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you're resisting tyranny? That sounds an awful lot like terrorism to me. I'm having ideas for a future series of the show that we should talk about off mic.
I will say there is to pull it back to where we were talking about how we know that these characters aren't great, but we still love them. And if there is any good characters, this episode is not about him. I will defend Achilles, even though I know he has problems.
But how great is Nestor?
How great is Antilochus, his son? That is the hero.
Okay.
That is the hero we all love. Yeah. He died young, so we didn't actually have to see him go, crazy and do some stupid shit. He gets to be young and good. For eternity, because he died.
But and though Nestor really, of all people, he has got a lot of nuance. Nestor's
a good father, except for in the Odyssey when he's all like, "Hey, remember that better son?" to all his other kids. Although I had a very good conversation with a professor about that, and she made some interesting points. Where is that a cultural thing to do with mourning? I think it was something like that, where because is this just how you remember somebody? And so would his other sons have actually been like, oh my God, we're never going to live up to Antilochus, or is this the proper way to honor him? Yeah. Yeah. But beyond that, Antilochus, good guy. Nestor, so tired. Let the old man retire.
Truly. The man has seen enough.
He's too old to be on the battlefield. But Odysseus, okay. What more can I say to bash this?
You don't need to. I mean, I can talk about why he's a piece of shit too if you
want. You're like, actually, you know what? Achilles not that bad. I'm like, let me come in and.
I mean, yeah. I think I walked into this knowing Odysseus would win. I'll be honest about that. Odysseus is a bigger piece of shit. Oh yeah, no, not it.
I was about to be like, excuse me.
It's a battle of the bastards, Michaela. He is the biggest bastard. Because I also think, similarly to Antilochus, when you phrase it that way, that Achilles didn't have the chance to go on to be a bigger bastard. I think maybe if we look to his son, if we look to the actions of Neoptolemus, right? Like we get kind of like, I wonder, about speculating whether, if given the opportunity, Achilles would have turned out more like that, or like where is that mentality coming from in Neoptolemus? Because he's such a piece of shit.
Who was his mother again? Was it Amazon?
No, Neoptolemus' mom is the woman on that island on Skyros where he was hiding out.
In drag.
Because he pretended to be a girl, but also still managed to sleep with her and have a baby.
Men. It's just men. He had ethical relations with her.
Are you or someone you know on Hinge in the Lower Mainland?
We love it. I'm sorry. I need to get that as like a tramp stamp. Yeah, so wait, so then his Skewhouse, okay, so his mom, they're both
I know. There's not a lot. Yeah, like
Hmm.
the thing about Neoptolemus generally is that also, you know, like, I mean, admittedly, I haven't read the play that features him. I would like to very much.
Is that the Fall of Troy? Is that no?
No, the Fall of
Yes.
Troy. I mean, I've read that. That's the
Yeah.
epic, from
Yeah.
the Roman period. And by I have read that, I mean I read it on the podcast for everyone to hear. But Neoptolemus is heavily in that for sure. But I'm
Yeah.
talking so earlier sources. He's in Andromache
He's
by
in
Euripides.
Andromache.
And I always forget that that's the plot of Andromache. It's after she has literally been living in his kingdom as his like war prize.
No.
Yeah, and they have like a kid together, and then he has Hermione as his new wife.
Oh my
and like
God.
that's what the play is about. So anyway, we have to cover that soon.
I've had plans to like put a whole like spreadsheet together of all the plays we've done and have yet to do.
Oh,
I
please,
just
yeah.
haven't.
Yeah, no, fair. That's the story of everything. Yeah, no, so Neoptolemus, we don't have a ton of like actually like any kind of archaic or let alone pre-archaic sources on him as a character, because everything, you know, is lost. So yeah, he's heavily in the Fall of Troy, where he's a piece of garbage. And again, I haven't read Andromache, but at the same time, like, so like every other play, like we have to assume, or we have to understand Andromache as reception. So like we still don't know what Neoptolemus was imagined as, you know, in the ancient world, or in that, you know, that earliest form of the ancient world that we were talking about with Iliad. So I wonder, but like, yeah, like if given the chance, like just how terrible would Achilles have been? Certainly his reaction to Patroclus's death is not a great indicator for like how he would have handled like further issues in his life.
You know, I was hoping that would come up. But
really, you thought maybe that in a discussion about Achilles, we might not mention the time he went absolutely fucking wild and started killing everybody, including arguably the least problematic and most moral character in the entire epic.
I'm just writing something down because for some reason, you know me and my obsession with looking at fathers and sons and myths. I never thought of Achilles and Neoptolemus.
That's like the worst, most terrifying terror show of a terror.
I know, but I still think Odysseus.
The problem is they never met.
Yeah,
well, they also never met. Like for all, I mean, all your complaints about Odysseus as a father, Achilles never even met Neoptolemus.
Yeah, but then on that hand, just then Neoptolemus has to live up to this idealized image of who.
Oh yeah. That kid was set up for failure.
Why can't I spell his name right now? I don't care. Lemus, I guess.
Achilles' kid.
that one guy. Bit of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said something, and then it was
no. You said something about what maybe this is really the Battle of the Bastards with Neoptolemus versus himself, but like
Neoptolemus versus Telemachus, easy win for Neoptolemus.
Yeah, well, I mean, God, they're both obnoxious in different ways. Again,
yeah, but Telemachus is obnoxious in the way that, you know, he well, I guess they both want to live up to their fathers.
Yeah, no, they were both
great men.
Well,
Telemachus sucks at it.
Okay, you know what? Actually, maybe this is a more interesting like way to take this conversation. But like, what? Yeah,
better dad.
But Neoptolemus versus Telemachus as like the most broken sons from the Greek side of the Trojan War, like, right? But like so for broken. Real, like. Yep. But also, they should have been a similar age, which, as I'm saying that makes absolutely no sense because Telemachus is like 20 when Odysseus gets back.
But he would have been like 10. Yeah. How is Neoptolemus old enough?
Because Neoptolemus was born when Achilles was hiding out on that island, which presumably was only for like a year or two. So he would have been born around the same time as Telemachus. So he's
like 10.
But then he would have been 10 when he had to come help them in the war, which doesn't make any sense.
He's just a crazy little child.
It's almost like the oral tradition was not trying to figure out chronologically accurate
just slightly
birth
flawed
dates.
Oh, so Something interesting, because this also makes me think of, like the sons, or it was because I was talking with a professor about a thing that I'm not going to go into too much detail about, but we were talking about Odysseus and Telemachus, and I was having my issues with them, and then
because they're both great guys who did awesome things.
Yeah, and then she was telling me about how Telemachus is often held in contrast to Orestes, and how Agamemnon, Clytemnestra, and Orestes are actually the opposite of Odysseus, Penelope, and Telemachus. Like Clytemnestra is the anti-Penelope, Agamemnon is the anti-Odysseus, but Orestes is the better son. He is what Telemachus should be. What he is doing is what Telemachus should be striving for.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. So if we're looking at sons, Telemachus, Neoptolemus, let's throw Orestes in there, because that poor boy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was set up for failure. If anyone was.
And he did his best. He did his best.
His best could have been forgiving his mother instead of killing her, but whatever.
Yeah, but then his father's shades would have come from. Regardless, he was doomed.
Yeah, I guess a woman's shade is a little less threatening.
Well, that's just because the Athenians came in and they were like, call Athena and let's do a trial. No, he's Gucci. He's fine. That's retconning. That's reception. That's
but that's such
was doomed.
Oh yeah, no, that's such a great reminder about the ways that every time we have to look at a play for any kind of source on the mythology, we have to remember the ways in which it's reception, because like the most famous forms of Orestes' story are inextricably tied with Athenian democracy.
Yeah.
So if you separate that and you think, oh, actually Orestes' story is like many hundreds of years older than Athenian democracy, then like what would that have actually looked like? He would have just been hounded by the Furies forever. Like I think that's exactly what it is. I think he was just doomed regardless, but that's the good curse coming into play. Like that's just that family. But at this point, I think then at that point, we could think of that as more like the son is now like the innocent at the far end of his family's crimes, where the son could have done really good in life, could have done good things, but because of the things his forebears did, he is the one who pays the price for their big problems. Versus looking at Telemachus and Odysseus does all these wonderful things, and now his son is living in his shadow in a way that he can never reach it. Yeah.
And then Neoptolemus, well, he just overshadows his father in the most horrifying way.
If your shadow is blood, then Neoptolemus overshadows his father.
Look, Achilles was good at one thing, and he really committed to it.
Yeah, and Neoptolemus was like, my dad was good at this one thing. If I'm ever going to live up to him, I have to be even better at this one thing. And it just turns out, aw shucks, this one thing was killing people.
Yeah, and then so the next question would be, if there's some traditions where Neoptolemus kills Astyanax, yeah?
I think it's always Odysseus.
Okay, so here's another diss on Odysseus. He throws a baby at a wall.
I know he throws a baby off a wall.
He's like, you know what? Look at this little babe. Off you go.
So, but here, if we're talking reception, if we're going that deep, as far as I recall, all forms of the story of who throws Astyanax off the walls of Troy are coming from a considerably later period.
I'm trying to think of
pottery. Prove me wrong. Because I very well could be wrong.
No, I feel... This is how we both have not done preparations.
That's the fun of this. This is a holiday episode, you guys. This is both us going from our obsessive memories of both of these characters and these texts.
I still think it's kind of a problem if you throw a baby off a wall, just saying.
I mean, I would like to be put on the record and saying I'm not saying it's a good thing if you threw the baby off the wall. I am, famously not a fan of children, but I would like to be clear that I don't ever condone throwing them off a wall.
I don't mind children as long as I can give them back to their parents when they start screaming.
Well, that's where you're a better woman than me.
I'll give them abundance.
My
of
uterus
candy.
does never,
my uterus
never
is
once
barren.
gives. No, well,
Happily.
yeah, I know you're lucky, but I'm saying mine never doesn't even give me the desire to pick one up in the first place.
I don't know. There's like a certain age of babies where they're like just like stuffies more than people, and they don't.
Oh, you like them younger?
I like it when they don't talk.
Ew,
and
I
cute,
only
and they
if
smile
they.
at you. But then
I don't think that children
and I'm
are
like,
worth.
Get it the fuck away from me. No.
I don't think that children are worth my time until they can have a conversation with me. And I said that, and I'm keeping it. I said it, and I believe it.
They say weird shit. Although honestly, though,
I'll take a video of a kid being weird, but I don't want to interact.
Kids do say the funniest shit though.
And that's what America's Funniest Home Videos was for.
Yes.
Or no, wait, there was a whole show. That joke was sitting there waiting for me, and it was kids say the darndest things.
Wonder what
that reference was for a very select few of my listeners, because most of you are too young probably to remember what that was.
I feel like it's ringing a bell for me. I'm not even that much younger than you.
No.
I'm of the same generation.
No, I mean,
I got America's Funniest Home Videos.
Michaela, 6 years does a lot, though.
Is it 6 years? I thought it was 5.
Yeah.
You're not... Oh.
I know. You're 30 and I'm 36.
I thought you were younger.
I know, because it's because my skin. I just like youth. I absolutely. It's funny because it's not true, but I know I don't.
This is the middle of winter. Your skin doesn't have to look good.
I also just moved to the land of the dry. I'm trying to adapt. My lungs are not there yet.
No. Oh my god. So okay. Okay, let's get back. So.
Let's just return with this us laughing and saying, Achilles was garbage and Odysseus was worse. To the listeners, we did just cut out a bit, and now we're wrapping it up. But I honestly...
Could I say one last thing?
You please.
Odysseus is like ancient Columbus.
I was literally just about to be like, I didn't get a chance to say how problematic he was. No, yeah, I think, I mean, I love the Odyssey so much as this adventure. As this like piece of art. Yeah. And like as this piece, like, and I do love Odysseus, but again, I think that is so deeply tied to Sean Bean as Odysseus. Yeah. And also those, like, the remnants of when I learned to love these texts because the Greeks were the most brilliant, and we love everything they did, and of course they were right, and the West and blah 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 blah, right? So there's like a little bit of tie there. But yeah, if I look at the Odyssey, now, and I've always been I would like to think like pretty open-minded about that stuff, but now over the last couple years, just with the warmongering of the West, like I just no longer can see anything the way I used to, and the Odyssey it's just wild. It is. Odysseus is Columbus, but if Columbus just set everything on fire and then was like, all right, I'm not going to stay. You guys, you can just try to fix what I just did. I actually have somewhere to be. I got things to do. Like,
turns out I have a wife and child at home.
Like, I don't want to defend Columbus, but at least the guy fucking stayed,
He committed.
He committed to his atrocities.
To the chagrin of my people, unfortunately. Yes. Oh, the one time I didn't want someone to commit to the bit.
I mean, Columbus didn't come to Canada, if that's any consolation.
Still a dumbass pigeon.
Your direct people were more affected by the British and the French.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, there was no border till y'all came.
Facts.
This is actually my people we straddled the border back and forth, and actually we loved to go for a little wander up and down. We had trading networks all the way into South
those
America.
big ass lakes.
Yeah,
those big ass lakes. You knew what to do with them.
With an island with a lake on it,
I mean, I drove around Lake Superior for the first time, and now I have a full blown respect for the lakes.
It has fucking waves, like waves. You
did I send
die
you videos?
in those lakes. But I've
oh
seen
my
them.
god.
Those
When
are
we were there during like the wildest wind, the
Yeah.
Lake Superior looked wilder than Dallas Road, which is like the wildest beaches on Vancouver Island, and that's like
Yeah.
legit the sea.
You
And we were
don't fuck
driving
around
by
with
it
the
being
Great
like, holy
Lakes.
shit.
Yeah.
This is like what you see on Dallas after an earthquake
Yeah.
in Asia. And we go down to the Dallas Road and be like, I would like to see the waves. And that was fucking Lake Superior.
Yeah. No, those lakes they're wild. They are just they have done damage. Like they have done damage in the way the sea has done damage.
No, I mean they're equivalent, especially to an ancient people and like to the indigenous people of this region. Like it's equivalent to the sea, no doubt.
Oh yeah. But at least freshwater.
Well, what a very deeply North American way to wrap this up, but in a good way. I'm saying North America now in a good way. Because we're talking about the people who were here before. Before the Odysseus of modern colonization came through.
Pigeon man.
What?
You know, Columbus means like...
What did you say?
Pigeon. I called him pigeon.
Oh, is that
Columbus,
what it is?
Well, it means like dove or pigeon in Latin.
Oh, okay.
So I just call him a pigeon.
I respect that, but I think it might be unkind to pigeons. Pigeons deserve more respect than Columbus.
Yeah, but I think it's funny.
Oh no, 100%.
Anyways,
well,
Odysseus
listeners, Odysseus wins. Absolutely, he is. I mean, again, arguably worse than Columbus, and I think that this will not be the last time. And what?
And Achilles.
Oh yeah. Well, if I mean, Columbus is obviously worse than Achilles. Achilles wasn't doing any colonizing. He just Achilles really had strong emotions, and he used his sword to get them across. His spear, more likely.
To give one last defense to Achilles, I know we're wrapping this up, but to one last defense, the first book, and he's all like, I'm gonna kill this man, and Athena's like, maybe don't. Use your words. Don't be rational. And he's like, all right, I can do that. Listen here, you wino bitch face coward. You know what? He's still our boy. He knows himself.
Yeah, he knows himself.
He's consistent, and I appreciate that about him.
Well, this has been too much fun, not least because now we're going to have to chat offline about a whole ass series about the Odyssey as colonialist propaganda. In a good way, though, like in a fun way, listeners. It'll be fun, I promise. And also... we have to look closer at the Iliad as a piece of anti-war literature. Yeah, I really want to do that. So. This is if there was ever a time to do that, it's now. But until then, I'm going to read the credits aloud with Michaela sitting here for the first time ever, and again, that's
I'll just
weird.
Stare at you.
And note to the listeners, because I've caught it afterwards every time, but when we're doing this live, I'm not going to say her old last name.
Are you still saying my old last?
But I catch it, but then I say it because it comes out of me immediately, and then I catch it.
That's so fair.
Let's Talk About Myths, Baby is written and produced by me, Liv Albert. Michaela Pengowish is the Hermes to my Olympians, the producer who's producing the shit out of this. Listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Sign up for our newsletter, which I didn't remember to send out last month, but which I will again, because we have literally so much going on. Like, honestly, there's a lot happening. I feel like I've seemed very quiet lately, but that's because that my brain is so full of secrets.
Okay, Gretchen Weavers.
I am Liv, and I love this shit. Michaela, what's your sign off again?
I'm Michaela, and I'm here too.
I forgot that's what it was, but it was that, and we need to keep it forever now.
No.